Okay, we are on 16.8. We're learning about Tumah, we're learning about contamination, and hopefully by learning about contamination and learning about purity, that will help us become more pure. Just like I believe, now is time of Chametz, that we are searching, getting ready to make the search for Chametz. Now, by the way, David, if people who are leaving on, people who leave to travel, right? They do the bedikah the night before they travel, right? So if people are leaving on Thursday day, right? When do they do the search? Do the search Wednesday night in their house. They do the search Wednesday night without a bracha, meaning the official day of search is Thursday night, correct? This year, when is the search? When is the bedikah? Thursday night. That's the official date of the bedikah. But if a person is traveling, and as a result of his traveling, he's going to go ahead and leave before Thursday night. Good morning, Ronnie. Great to see you on the screen.
Rabbi, you too. Good morning. How you doing?
Morning. Thank God.
Baruch Hashem.
Right. So we're about to start the Gemara. Before we start the Gemara, we're just talking a minute about the bedikah, that people are traveling on Thursday. But the question is, did you leave any some people, what they do is they leave a room to check, because they want to do the mitzvah of bedikah. So even if people are selling the whole house, you have the point, David. The people are traveling, they're leaving, they're going away, but there's still, what about the mitzvah of bedikah? What about this mitzvah, this great mitzvah of search for chametz? So I would say, David, if a person wants to, sell his house, but I would say he should leave a room, that he should do a search before he leaves. So at least he's going to go ahead and do the mitzvah of bedikah. If it's the night of the bedikah, if it's the general night of the search, which let's say this year it's Thursday night. So if you're traveling Friday morning, you do the bedikah Thursday night, like everybody else, with a bracha. If you left the room for yourself to check, you didn't sell the whole. What? If you're leaving Friday, and then you're doing the search Thursday night. But if you're leaving before Thursday night, so then you do the search the night before you leave. But if it's not the official night of the search, so you do it the night before you leave, but you do not recite a bracha on that search. You understand? So in your case, David, if you would leave a room in the house, right? I don't think the rabbi sold the chametz yet. Whoever you spoke to, you could talk to him about that. So you should be able to do the search on one of the rooms. That's what I would suggest. Okay. Good morning. So we are now, Ronnie is coming into a very interesting Gemara. All Gemaras are interesting, as we know. And what the Gemara was saying, we were talking about glass, that the rabbis placed a rabbinic contamination that glass has the ability to receive contamination through something that has the power to contaminate. And the Gemara has said, good morning, Nathan. Good morning, Nathan. The Gemara had said, also much more, wish mazel tov to Nathan on his son getting engaged. Big mazel tov, mabruk to Nathan. And that many more smachot. The Gemara says, why did the rabbis enact a rabbinic law that glass has the ability to receive contamination? The Torah talks about metal receiving contamination, earthenware receiving contamination. Why did they make a decree regarding glass? Because glass is similar to earthenware, that the glass comes from the sand. And if the rabbis would not make that enactment about the glass, then people will also say that earthenware will not receive contamination. And therefore, in order that people should not make that mistake, the rabbi said they treated the glass just like earthenware that it can receive contamination. So the Gemara now is questioning this point. That's at the end of 15b4, the last line, Elamata, now up to 16a1. The Gemara had a question, Lula Tamu Migabon. The Gemara had a question, if that's the case, if glass is classified as like earthenware, like you make a clay from the earth, you make from the clay, you make a utensil, and then if a dead sheretz or a dead mouse or whatever would come in contact with it, it would contaminate it. But we know klicheres, earthenware utensils receive its contamination when the item that's doing the contamination comes within the airspace of the utensil. If it touches the back of the utensil, if it come in contact with the back of the utensil, will not contaminate the utensil. So, being that's the case, so why is it that glass seems to become able to become contaminated even by touching the surface, the back of the glass, even without, even though it did not touch they did not go into the airspace of the inside of the utensil. Again, this is a very interesting. Good morning, Ralph.
Morning, Rabbi.
Morning. If we did yesterday. We showed a cup. If you have a cup, and the cup has no lid on top, so in order for earthenware to become contaminated, you have to go within the airspace of the cup. Make believe this is the cup. So within here is the airspace of the cup. If you just touch the outside of the cup, the clay utensil, the earthenware utensil, the china will not be that. If you have a china glass, a china cup, will not become contaminated by touching the outside of the cup. If it would be a metal cup, it would become contaminated from the outside. The metal, we wanted to clarify what we had mentioned yesterday. We were talking about yesterday. Metal would receive contamination from contact. But when it comes to earthenware, so we have Mark on now, we're going to clarify this point. Morning, Mark.
Morning, Rabbi.
Morning. So the Gemara is having the question of the Gemara is, if we're considering glass like earthenware because it comes from the sand, so why earthenware, the only way earthenware could become contaminated, clay, these type of items, only if the item that's contaminated comes within the airspace of the utensil. If it touches the utensil, it will not make the item contaminated. Tanan, Alam Tanan, what do we learn? Kli cheres ukli neser. Kli cheres ukli neser. These are things that are made from clay. Tumasan shaveh. The tuma is they're equal. What are they equal? Mitamin umitamin mavirehem. Their contamination is from the airspace within the earthenware utensil. Even though it does not touch, even though the dead item did not touch the utensil, it just entered into the airspace within the utensil, it will contaminate the utensil. And similarly, these items, if these items became contaminated, this vessel became contaminated, if you put within this vessel, this earthenware vessel, you put food within this earthenware vessel, that food would become contaminated through the airspace coming into the airspace of this utensil. That now, Now, after this, what's interesting, a earthenware utensil could only be does not receive contamination by coming in contact. If the dead animal came in contact with the item, only if it was within the airspace of the item. But if the item, once this earthenware utensil becomes contaminated, it has the power to contaminate other items, either by through contact, or even if the other item, if it touches a food, or if the food comes within its airspace, it also would contaminate the food. Now, the Gemara says, so these types of earthenware these are made from clay. They have the status of that the way it's unique way of contaminating. Umitamin me'achorehem, and they also acquire if there's some sort of hole in the back of the utensil, and let's say you had the utensil. Let's say this is the earthenware utensil, and then let's say you dug into the utensil, you cut into the utensil, you made it. There's a certain indentation into the utensil, and then something came within that in the back of the utensil. There was some indentation in the utensil. So then if something also comes into that space, that's like entering the inside of the utensil, and that's like the ear of the utensil as well, and it would contaminate the utensil. That's the ma'acharehem. To a cavity on the exterior. It would also so that would also become contaminated through that. However, the ein mitamin bigabehem, they will not become contaminated by coming in contact with the back of the earthenware utensil. Usviratan, and how do you make this utensil tahar, pure? Meaning other utensils, like a metal utensil, you go ahead and you put it into the mikveh, right? You put it into the mikveh, but this earthenware utensil, the only way that it can become pure is by breaking it. When you break this earthenware utensil, that will make it purified. Now it's no longer a utensil. Good morning, Nathan. You have broken it. Usfiratan mitaratan. The breaking of the utensil makes it pure. Now that is the language of the Mishnah. So the Mishnah, so the Gemara is medai klinese or klicheres. This klines and the klicheres, these type of earthenware vessels, those are the ones, different types of earthenware vessels. Those are the ones that hudatu matan shavet. They are the ones that have this unique situation that the tumah, these are the ones that have the same status of contamination, meaning they contaminate through the airspace. Now, however, but no other item has the same laws as these different types of earthenware utensils. Only these earthenware utensils have this law that it becomes contaminated through the airspace, and you have to make it purified through breaking it. And
but the only thing that sounds silly because breaking it is destroying it. So who cares? It's not anything anyway. It's not, how can you make it tahor? It's non-existent now.
no, Mark. The answer is, Mark, that if let's say you break it and then you want to reform it, right? You broke it. We want to recycle. So if you break this, let's say you break this.
So if I break the handle off and put it back on, it's pure.
No, that might not be called breaking. You know what I'm saying? If you break it, now that this item is no longer, you took this cup, this china cup, and you broke it, and now it can't be used as a cup anymore, right? The question will be obviously what's called breaking. But I would believe that's not called breaking by just taking off the handle and the item is still useful. But once you did a certain type of break that's called enough of a break of that it's not that's not called that's not maybe usable as a utensil. Well, that's exactly what level of break that is. You could understand that it's like it's not existent. And now you go ahead and then you reform it. So now you reform it so that you glue it back together. Right. Let's say you broke it as Nathan, then let's say you glue it back together. So on a total level, this item will not, it's not, the contamination is not there anymore. It's gone. You definitely have, we'll see if there's something called, that once you reform it, we'll see about, will it receive its contamination on a rabbinic level back. But at this point, we're discussing the way to make this utensil pure is by breaking it. Mikveh doesn't help. And once you broke it, now it is it's tahar. So Mark, you could understand it's no longer here. We consider it no longer here. Now you recycled it. It's a new thing. So far the Gemara's question is so far we've said that glass is just like earthenware, and now the Gemara is challenging it because why isn't glass listed together with this different types of clays, different types of earthenware, and that why
there's
isn't it
no
listed? It
there's
has the
no
same. It should be
reforming
part of the
glass.
category. What'd you say?
There's no reforming a glass thing. Once you break glass,
No,
you can't put it back.
You could melt the glass. The Gemara is going to say about how there are similarities to glass. You melt the glass and you can reform it. You can
You're in the front.
we'll see more about that as we see. There is that similarity to metal. About once you melt the glass, you can reform it. But at this point, the Gemara is only saying the Gemara is talking about breaking a earthenware utensil. That makes it, and then you cycle it and you make it again. You put it back together. You put some clay and you fill in the holes, and now you put it back together.
It's two. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if somebody could mute.
Somebody has to mute. Ralph, I think it's Ralph.
Two deer in the front.
Okay. So that's what the Gemara. So that's the Gemara's question.
The grass looks better.
So why is it metal? Glass should be included in that case. I mean, why is the Mishnah not including glass with those different types of earthenware, that it should have the status of earthenware? And the fact that it does not list it seems like it does not have that same law of earthenware. If everybody would be careful about muting their phone. Okay, so that's the Gemara, the Gemara's question. So the Gemara says, Omri. By the way, they translate this clay neser. What is this? We said it's the type of earthenware. They call it a natron vessel. You familiar with a natron vessel? Is it's made from the clay. How they translate it is let's see. It's English. The naturally occurring form of sodium carbonate, which is ancient times was used to make ceramics. A second, but a lot of discussion exactly what is this neser. Some translated as alum. There's a whole discussion about what is this, but it's a type of earthenware. They say it's made from Adama Levana. Okay. Now, Right. So the Gemara says like this. Amri, Mark, this is the point that you're asking about the glass. Does glass have similarities to metal or not? So Amri, the Gemara says, Kivan dechinishtabru yeshlam takana. When glass breaks, there's a way to fix glass. Right, David? How do you fix the glass after it breaks? You can melt it down and to form it, put it together again. So therefore, since it has that similarity to glass, to metal, the rabbis treated it like metal, that it should be able to receive its contamination like metal from the from contact as from contact. So yes. Um, so there is a discussion there's a discussion. Do we say it also would contact tumor from its inside space as well? Because at this point, it sounds like that it's similar to earthenware and it's similar to glass. So if it's similar to both, there's a case that may be able to make. With the discussion of Tosfos has a discussion. There is a discussion about that. And there is an opinion in Tosfot that it will not, there is an opinion that says it will not receive contamination. The glass will not receive contamination from its airspace. And the reason is that even though they gave it they made it like a certain status like an earthenware utensil, and they gave it contamination, but they did not want to be so strict to make it more strict rabbinically than any utensil that receives contamination from the Torah level. Meaning to say, we haven't found any item that receives contamination both from from its airspace and from its contact, because metal only receives its contamination from contact. If you have a metal cup and the dead someone who's tamei puts his hand inside Nathan's case yesterday, you put it inside the thing, it will not contaminate the metal cup. You have to touch the metal cup in order to contaminate the metal cup. However, when it comes to an earthenware cup, the way earthenware cup receives contamination is not by touching it. If you touch the outside, it will not become contaminated. It has to go within the airspace. Now, to say that glass will have the stringency of both, and it will contaminate, you could contaminate a glass both from within the airspace, right? Coming within, the person's tummy touches the inside or touches the outside, that's going to make a rabbinic item that only receives contamination on a rabbinic level more strict than any item that has the ability to receive contamination on a Torah level. And one answer to Tosfos says the rabbis would not want to go that far to create that the rabbinic item, you hear that point, David? Is stronger than any Torah item. Choose one or the other, right? And at this point, the Gemara is saying it will come contact, the glass will come through contact when you touch it. Right, but I'm saying, but that's not, I don't believe that the handle, again, you have to go with inside the utensil. So therefore, it should not contaminate the utensil. Good morning. Or like we said, if it was a cavity on the outside, but the cavity was going indented inside, right? We said, let's say if you have it on the back of the utensil, then there's a space that cuts in the bottom. Right? That would be also considered a cavity. Good morning, Emmanuel. Good morning. We said. or there's that space in between on that bond. If you look at note, right, a cavity on their exterior. If you have a cavity on the exterior of an item, that will also somehow, let's say let's say David, let's say this. Let's say there's a cut in here and there's a space. So here, you take your coffee cup, right, that's also called a space. Right, that's also called within, that's airspace. That was one of the things that the Gemara says, some vessels, like they say, have a cavity aside from the main receptacle. A goblet with a stem and base has a cavity on the underside of the base, right?
Base within.
And this is a Torah. This is not. They didn't. This is a Torah law.
Has anyone explained
Why? I mean, what?
Why something contaminate from the space within, and other things only contaminate by touching? Explain why the difference.
Definitely, there are commentators that explain why. Like Rav Hirsch most probably would explain it. I'm not. Yeah. Meaning what? Mean the reason for the Torah law? Right. Right. Okay. That's a good thing to look at. Rav Hirsch is the type of commentary of Shamshafal Hirsch. And if most of you have heard of Good Morning Shlomo from Shamshafal Hirsch, that's the type of thing that he'll try to explain why the difference. Okay. Something good to try to see what is suggested. There has to be every law has reason, and some things why is that earthenware utensil this way? Why is metal that way? There has to be okay. So the Gemara just said that because it has this similarity, so therefore the rabbis should have the similarity to metal because it could be melted down and fixed the glass, so therefore they gave it the status of metal that it will receive its contamination through glass. Both can be melted. Glass and metal can be melted. So again, there's a similarity. And the concern is if you're going to go ahead and you're going to say that the glass will not become contaminated through contact, people will say that metal also won't be contaminated through contact, and that we want to protect that. Now I'm just okay. So let's continue. Now, first of all, what would you think more utensils are made from? Are more utensils made from earthenware? If you take a poll, there's more utensils made from earthenware or more utensils made from metal. Metal, I would think there's much more utensils. If I could speculate, because I want to understand if you could go either direction, meaning to say, if we said that glass has similarities to earthenware because it came from sand, right, Mr. Haber, and also glass has similarities to metal that it could be fixed, remelted. But when it comes to contamination, the rabbis, according to this answer of Tosfot, that we're only going to give the glass, it only could become contaminated through contact and not through the airspace. Why did the rabbis choose to compare it to the metal regarding contamination? Why didn't it compare it to the earthenware and say that it should contaminate from within the airspace? If you have it's one or the other. Why choose this one over that one? You hear the question mark? Good morning, everybody from acknowledge Asaf and Emmanuel. Yes, Nathan.
When we talked about metal more as a cooking utensil and on things of earthenware more as china and plates and whatever. I know in the old days people used to cook sometimes in earthenware pots, and even today people do sometimes cook in earthenware pots. But the majority of eating and drinking utensils are earthenware, as distinguished from metal.
Right, I hear that. Shlomo, I want to update you. We're learning about different things of contamination. Spoke about glass. The Torah does not, glass cannot receive contamination from a Torah perspective. It's not one of the things.
Any kind of bars, anything is full, it's a candy. It's not only eating, it's not only about eating.
Right.
It's about any vessel.
So,
Although when one talks about vases, one would think that most vases are glass and fewer are earthenware and even fewer are metal.
Yes.
so we're discussing that the rabbis gave a rabbinic law that glass has the ability to receive contamination when something has the power to contaminate it. And the rabbis gave it some similarities to metal, and also we said it has similarities to earthenware. And both have the ability to become contaminated on a Torah level. Earthenware can become contaminated on a Torah level, and metal can become contaminated. The rabbis gave
Not a wood kit. Wood kit contaminated. There's such thing as a wood can.
right. We'll have to check. Just check it out. We have to. I don't think it's. I have to see if it's listed in the Torah. I have to look at the case of the Torah, see if it's listed or not. I don't think we're talking about. I'm not sure. I don't think we're talking about wood in Malika. Maybe certain. I mean, there's certain wicks or whatever, but we're not. Okay, so the Gemara says the following. The Gemara says, "Elama'ata." If that's the case, if you're making the glass like a if you're making the glass like metal, and therefore glass can receive its contamination through through touching, through contact. So yachzeru l'tumatan yeshana kichli matachos. It should go back to its contamination like metal. What's this idea? We said on a Torah level, if you have a metal utensil, and you have a metal utensil, you break the metal utensil is no longer here. It's considered like it's not here, even though it is here. The pieces are here, but you broke it. Now that also would purify it. The same way, if you have a earthenware. Okay, it's not everybody is ready to melt. There's different ways to melting. Again, melting is a way of breaking it. Meaning, if you take a, let's say I'm not looking to melt it. If I take a metal utensil, I break it. You cut you break. However you not right. If you build a hole now it can't hold the liquid. There might be this discussion if it can't hold the liquid, but maybe could it hold other items? You have to see exactly what's called that you really, it's not considered functional, that we'll consider it a utensil at all. Right. There's certain things it talks about. Could it contain a pomegranate? Could it contain certain things? If it could still hold certain foods that are larger, it might not be considered. We have to see exactly what's considered that it's really considered defunctional. But
Like a wine bottle is a can. It's full of liquid. You drill a hole in it. It's not functioning.
right, but maybe it's not a wine. But the question is the fact that, it's the fact that it.
What?
But that's the question. But that's questionable, Mark, because maybe it could be it's no longer used as a wine bottle. But if it could be used as some other item, it might be considered. Still, it might be the fact that it still might be considered a utensil, even though it's not used in the other way, but it might be considered a utensil. It's not called what?
Drill a hole, holes are good for wine, they can store marbles in it.
So that the question will be what? That's a different discussion. How much you have to do in order to that now we consider it's full broken.
Becomes contaminated through touching. You drill a hole in it, it is no longer.
If you broke it, whatever that level of breaking is called, Right.
And if you solder it back together, it is now not still contaminated.
Oh, so on a Torah level, it's not contaminated. But on a rabbinic level, we say if you put it back together, you put the metal back together, if you put the metal back together, now that thing that was contaminated, that never went to the mikveh, that metal that never, if you solder, then you put it back together.
Not, no longer contaminated. Both rabbinically-
No. On a Torah level, it's not, but rabbinically, it has. No. So once you dunk the mikveh, it's fine. That removes anything. But here we're talking about if you have a metal utensil that you broke. Once you break it, now on a Torah level, it's fine. However, if you put it back together, it requires tefillah. And we know that when it comes to glass, we don't say that. We don't say that glass, once you put it back together, once it was contaminated, that it becomes automatically, and it requires the mikveh, it's contaminated again on a rabbinic level. Titnan, kli matachot. If you have metal utensils,
You're saying the metal makes.
if you fix it without doing anything, right, it goes back. Rabbinically, the rabbis, right, the rabbi, and the Rashi says later on, the Gemara is going to explain why did the rabbis give this new contamination that brings back its contamination. You already knocked it out. It's only rabbinically. The Torah, you broke it, it's no longer. It's a different, it's not here anymore, so to speak. The fact that you put it back together, that doesn't make it the new item. Exactly.
Rabbi, what if you bypass it? What if something becomes contaminated and you don't break it, you just melt it and put it back, melt it back?
Right, so again, so melting it back, if it broke, then now that means that it broke, right? It's a certain type of, it's not the same utensil anymore, but we're going to see glass will not have the same status of the metal. Glass will not be, they will not give that rabbinic law that if you put the glass back together, that it's back to contamination. Once you break it, fix it, you're good. You don't need mikveh to her. But when it comes to metal, when you break it, it's purified. It's no longer the same utensil. But if you put that utensil back together, now the old contamination is back. That's called rabbinically, not Torah. That's called tumatan yishana. The old contamination is back. So, but technically, it should be good. On a Torah level, it works. So let them. What's the problem? Break it. Meaning, what is it? Meaning, it does work. If you take a utensil, you break it, take a minute, you break it. You don't on a Torah level. You don't need to make fist. So what's the concern? So let them do it. Let them break it. So that Rashi says we have to stay tuned. Rashi says the Gemara is going to explain later on why did they put back this contamination. And the Mishnah says in Kalim, did not. Clay matachot, metal utensils, pshutehem, if they are flat, or mikablehem, or if they have a receptacle that you could hold something in it. So both of them, tameim, they both have the ability to receive contamination. This is in contrast to earthenware. That earthenware, if it's flat earthenware, it cannot receive contamination. And if there has to be, but when it comes to metal, it could either be flatware, whether it's flat or whether it has, something that you could contain in it. They both are tameim by metal. Nishbaru, if the metal gets broken, taharu. The utensil now, you broke it, the metal is now pure. It's no longer contaminated, David. You broke it. It's no longer here. That utensil is gone. However, chazah v'asa mehem. But if you went ahead and you made from them kelim, and you made from them utensils, so then we say chazran l'tumat yishana. The contamination comes back. By the way, discuss the wood right away. The wood is coming up, Mark. If you went ahead and you fixed the metal, the old contamination comes back. If you didn't put it into the mikveh, you broke it, you fixed it, the old contamination come back. However, by metal, by glass, clay 8. Here's the wooden utensil, clay R, and leather utensils, clay etzem, and from boneware. That should not. So far, that might not be one of the listings of contamination. Clay etzem, clay. Right? How they say clay etzem, right? They'll say clay etzem is bone article, right? And clay zchuchit, glassware, pshutehem torim. If it's flat, if it does not have, that is addresses Mark's issue with the wood. So if you have a wood utensil that's just flat, that doesn't have, it's not something that could hold something. If you put liquid on, it's just going to fall right out. It's not like a cup. That will not receive contamination. However, it has to be mekablehem. It has to go ahead and has to be able to hold something in it. You have to go make from the wood utensil. If you made it that you're able to go ahead and hold something, then it would receive contamination. Nishbaru, but if they broke taharu, they also become pure. Once you break any item, any utensil so far, if you break it, it's no longer contaminated. And b'chazav v'asem kelim. And then if you refixed it, mikama tuma mikal haba, it only can receive contamination from afterwards, later on, but it does not go back. The glassware, or the boneware, or the leather, or the wood stuff, they will not go back to the old contamination. Only metal goes back. So the Gemara's question is, if glass, that's the Gemara's question. So we're saying glass is not like metal, that it goes back to its old contamination, and that's the Gemara's question. Why not? And stay tuned tomorrow. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. Thanks, Sal. Good to see you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Appreciate it.
Great day, everybody. Ronnie, welcome to the class.
Thank you. That was
Thank
great.
you. Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Ronnie, you came to heavy stuff. Heavy stuff.
I was listening perfectly. Rabbi, I have a question. So what do we do for Shabbat this coming week for Hamotzi?
So that's the $1 million question. So many people are using pita, I think. Pita Friday night and Shabbat morning. But Shabbat morning, you have to eat by 10:12, at least in I think in New York. Right. Most people are davening early minyan because that's what they're doing in the synagogue. So they're going home. What are they doing? They're serving the pita in the synagogue. Okay, so different places are doing different things. But remember,
Right.
Saturday morning, Shabbat morning, you have to eat. Be careful, Mr. Haber. You have to eat by 10:12. No more chametz can be eaten after 10:12. So most people are davening early Shabbat morning. So again,
Makes
Ronnie,
sense.
you do the search Thursday night,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do a nullification after the search Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Friday morning, you burn the chametz,
Mm-hmm.
and then Shabbat Friday night, you go ahead and you have some pita, and then be careful with the crumbs. And Saturday morning, you have another pita. You have lechem mishnah. You have another pita, and you have to have it before 10:12. And any crumbs that are left over, you gotta dispose of, get rid of.
Right.
Push down the toilet to get out of the house. All right.
Perfect. Thank you, Rabbi.
And then you, after you finish eating before 10:12, then after you dispose of, I'll take care of it, David. After you dispose of the chametz, whatever's left, you throw it out in the wherever you're throwing it. Then you say the second kol chamira, second nullification.
Got it. Perfect.
And the notification that we generally would say when we burn the chametz, this time we'll say it, that notification in the morning, Shabbat morning, after we get rid of the chametz.
Perfect. Okay.
Good
Thank
to
you,
see
Rabbi.
Ronnie. Thank you
All
for
right.
joining.
Good to
Take
see
care,
you.
Ronnie.
See you soon.
Take care.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you got it. Ralph, take care. Good morning, Gary. Morning, Asaf. Asaf, have a great day.